Om Shri Sai Ram, offering my most humble and loving salutations at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagawan, Shri Sathya Sai Baba. Dear listeners and viewers, it gives me a great pleasure to bring to you another episode of His Story, but with a twist. As we start the program, let us please join me for the prayer. Always I request you all to please share with me. O Lord, take my love and let it flow in fullness of devotion to Thee. O Lord, take my hands and let them work incessantly for Thee. O Lord, take my soul and let it be merged in one with Thee. O Lord, take my mind and thoughts and let them be in tune with Thee. O Lord, take my everything and let me be an instrument to work for Thee. Om Shri Sai Ram. Today, with Bhagwan's inspiration and guidance and many of your requests, we are venturing into interviewing our chosen teachers from Bhagwan's educational institutions. It gives me great pleasure. I feel humbled for this opportunity to hear his story, to hear various lessons and the dimensions of divine through those luminaries, those teachers who have helped us in molding our own personalities. In this series, it's my pleasure to introduce you Shri Bijay Kumar Mishra. He was my teacher of English in higher secondary school. So I have a very long association with him. And he happens to be my first teacher who has shocked me, surprised me, and taught me life lessons in a much different manner. And today, when we go through the journey of conversation, I hope I'll bring some of them out. Mr. Mishra did his master's in English from Ravenshaw College, Cuttack, Orissa, in 1966. I would say he was obsessed with God and divinity from childhood, and which divinely willed brought him to Bhagawan in 1980 to become the teacher at Sri Sathya Sai Higher Secondary School. Then it was called PUC, the pre-university or pre-college or junior college. He had his first darshan around 1977. He is an author. He is a poet. He has been instrument in translating many of Bhagawan's literature in Oriya language. He has even been instrument in starting monthly version of Sanatana Sarathi and Balvika's quarterly in those days. With such a multifaceted personality, it is my pleasure and a great honor to welcome Shri B.K. Mishra. Sai Ram, sir.
Sai Ram, everybody, and Sai Ram to you, Abhimanyu.
It's really a pleasure to have you, sir. Thank you so much for your time and accepting the invitation to come and share your journey with all of us.
I pray to Swami to put the words in
So,
my mouth that He wants the world to hear.
may I ask you to say something if you want to start off?
I will, I will.
Sure, sir.
Uh, this boy is interviewing me. You know him as a woman call.
Sir, your
But I
voice is
know
breaking again. I don't know. Hmm. Yeah.
this boy you see in front of me, in front of you in the screen, you know him as Abhimanyu Kaur. But I know him as a warrior of God. He has been fighting his, for decades, fighting with insensitivity of people, of the world, with his own sensitivity, with his love, with his dedication, with his single pointed focus and so on. Thank you, Abhimanyu Kaur. You have been very kind to me, as always. My dear listeners, let me have a word with you, a kind of a caution or introduction to what I'm going to do. This is today. Now I'm reminded of my grandma. I don't know why. You know, when the winter comes, thickens, and the chill comes around and envelops us, my old grandma's old bones feel a little warmth. She brings out a mud plate, borrows a few live embers from my mother's kitchen, and he has and, and push them on in the bowl and puts the twigs he had collected over the day on it, fans it, and builds a little fire. If we had finished our homework and or you can defer it to the morning, which we'd like to do, we come and sit around the fire and ask grandma to continue her story. She tells us the story of a king, always, many episodes. And the king has many children. The king has a huge kingdom, and the children had gone out to explore the father's kingdom. But the father told them, children, you come back soon. And when they go out to the world, go out to the kingdom to explore it, probably they forget their way and miss their way to come back. So the father goes out searching for them. The king goes out searching for them, looking for them. And each episode, our grandma used to tell us, is about the king, the father, going around looking for his children and whatever happens to each. When she says there was a king, we never asked what is the king's name and where was his kingdom. You know, I'm going to tell you the story of the same king in a different way. We never asked the name of the king because today the king says, all names are mine. Today we never ask, where is your house? The king says, each house in this globe is a room in my palace. And I come back often and often. The time grandma tells the story to us. The time grandma tells us the king comes back from his palace in search of his children who are lost in their own misadventures. And the king doesn't punish them. When he meets somebody, he says, my child, come back home. And where is the path? The path you will find inside you. It is a little chill around here in Puttaparthi, and I am going to build a little fire around me. And you know where is that fire? The fire is in my heart, is your heart. It is the fire of love. That fire that burns all the time. That fire that burns away all dross in us. And that fire that burns away all the extra luggage we have collected over years. So this is the fire of love. This is the story of love. This is the story of fire. I invite all of you to build a little fire in your hearts. In the fire, you offer the twigs of your hate, the twigs of your failures, of your anger, of your insufficiencies. All the small twigs throw into this fire of love until the fire burns them and starts burning you. When it burns you, you find that you know the way to went back to home. We have to go back home. And how will go back home with the fire? The fire gives light. The fire gives warmth. Even the chilliest winter cannot do anything to us. And our warrior of God is trying to build this warmth, build this fire in you, in everybody. He's a warrior, no? Who is a warrior of God? I read a very interesting book. I will ask you, I will request you to read that book. It's The Family That Overtook Christ. It's a beautiful book. The family devoted to Christ, each one is a warrior. How you become a warrior? Warrior with great love. The love takes away everything belongs to you. The love burns away all rust. Everything that you acquired, we have acquired over lives, and gives us the armor. So this is you read the life of Swami Ramdas of India. He was passionately in search of Rama, and he found Rama everywhere. And Rama took him to unexpected places in unexpected manner. He was also a warrior. Saint Francis of Assisi, he was a great warrior.
You're talking about me. I want to talk about you today. So,
So we have so many warriors around the world, along with Abhimanyu. The band he has collected in this reach, all the boys. You know, this boy word has been reinvented by Swami. Like some other words like Bangaro, like Dunaputta. He has reinvented this word. Even if you're a grandfather, you are a boy. Ever young, ever
that's why this
energetic.
pleasure, the pleasure of having this interview is called as, his story through the eyes of his boys. And now we have the teachers from you. Sir, I want to start off, if you don't mind, with your
Please,
poem itself. As I said, you are a wonderful poet too. And you says, he who dances in every wave of water, sings with every fluttering leaf, peeps through every whispering dream, as fleeting love of my endless search. Only he deserves this artless bouquet of my artless love. So let us, I don't know about the artless part of it, but certainly it is an art of bouquet and being offered to his Lord. I remember first meeting with you in my school days. I had come to you with a question. It was non-academic question, and you willingly said, yes, let's go and sit down. So we found a room in the sea floor. I remember it clearly. And as we settled down, I asked the question. Your immediate response was, your question is wrong. I was stunned because never have I heard the question to be wrong. And you very nonchalantly, poker face, you said, "Your question is wrong, think more." And you got up and walked out. I was upset. I was upset for a week. And by the time I cooled and started rethinking, I got a new question. I went back to you again. And then we sat down and I asked this question. I don't even remember the question. And as soon as you heard, he said, "Yes, now you got it." And we discussed for half an hour. That was the first time I realized the art of pariprashna, qualifying the question. And you taught me with such beauty, such sternness, that I realized that a question can be wrong if we do not think about it. To that mind who has been so sharp in chiseling us, I would like to know how this journey of Avatar, the adventure of divine spiritual life, started with you, sir. So please take us through your journey of how this young boy from Orissa jumped into this spiritual adventure.
Okay, you are taking me back more than half a century, but the whole story is still alive in my mind. I was really obsessed, as you said, with finding God. When I say I finding God, it as if I have a clear picture of God and I knew somewhere he lives and I just go and find him. It's not like that. That word was a very interesting word. And I want to find out not only where is God, but what is God. And for a teenager, the only way is to read books because there are not many people with whom you can discuss these things, ask these questions. So when I was in the postgraduate class, my mind was filled with many ideas. I read after reading so many books, but not single idea was clear, not properly streamlined. When I came across this illustrated weekly of India published from Mumbai those days, it's now stopped. And there is an article written by one Principal Sundar Rao. He describes Swami, he gives a couple of pictures of Swami and Prashanthi Nilayam and all that. That caught me in the net. Now we are using internet, isn't it? To reach out to all our friends around the globe. Internet, it is internal net. So that is also God's net. God caught me in this internal net. And where is the escape? If he catches you, where is the escape? And after that, I was in the final year of my postgraduate class. I was preparing for my final exam. But this revelation that God exists somewhere in Prashanthi, the beautiful picture and the story, and somehow I was interested in it and thought I will make a journey. How will I do make a journey? I have never traveled before that more than 20-30 kilometers in train and not never alone. Somebody is be with me. I never traveled alone. There is no need for it. Now I cannot obviously ask somebody from my family to accompany me in my uncertain journey into the unknown. They will laugh at me. This fellow mad. So I thought I will make it alone. Adventures are always done alone. There is a beautiful essay written by Montaigne, in English essayist, where he writes about on travel. He says, if you go on a travel, don't take a friend with you. You can enjoy anything. Always you need to listen to his comment and you must give a comment. That strains you. So go alone. So I thought I will go on adventure alone. But at that stage, I was so much in God, and I thought, oh, well, the only way that God can be God is giving up the world. In the world is God not found? Give up the world and then find him. So I was ready for that. But traveling more than 2000 kilometers alone, you need money, you need strength, all that I didn't have. I had only a 10 rupee note in my pocket and a small bag containing a spare cloth, a towel, and my brush. So with that, I started. I can't think of that today. It was, I thought it is so natural. It appeared to me so obvious that I can do it. I never questioned that, can I do it?
So you left home without telling anybody,
Without
in a
telling
bag,
anyone.
with a small little bag
With a small little
with
bag.
toothbrush and 10 rupee note.
Was, that's all.
Interesting.
And I
Okay.
climbed the train. Before that, I found out the route. Those days you have to change 4 times from Cuttack to Vijayawada, Vijay to Guntur to Guttakal, from Guttakal to Dharmavaram.
Dharmavaram, Dharmavaram.
And Dharmavaram, you have to take a bus. That's what they say.
Mhm.
In fact, I wrote a letter to Mr. Sundar Rao, and he said that all this is a difficult journey, but this is the way from your place. And I found out from the station, railway station. Well, to make a long story short, I climbed into the train without any ticket. I settled down in a seat. The train started. I sat with no luggage, mind and body. Mind was free from luggage. I didn't know what I'm going to meet, the kind of place it should be, whether I'll be welcome or not, I'll be lost or not lost, how this Sathya Sai Baba, as they would call him Swami, would react. I never did nothing. I didn't know anything. But I didn't question that. I thought, well, I'm going, that's all. And he has to take care of me. If he is what it is said about him. But that if was
And
a
that
little
and that was which year, sir? It was
67.
1967. That
I know,
must be really, really funny time because there was
yeah,
nothing there.
very difficult time, very difficult journey.
So when you reached Parthi, what was your
No, no,
first, like, what
no,
did you
no,
see?
not. You want me jump to the Parthi straight, or
No,
there's
no,
some
you can.
interesting
Oh,
thing?
sure, sure,
Yeah.
sure. Please, please go
There's
ahead.
something else I want to. A defining thing happens on the way.
Sure, sure. Please, sir.
On the way somewhere, the ticket examiner came
Hmm.
and asked me for the ticket. I said just like that. The ticket is with my father. Where is he? He's in the next apartment. I did not know. I was defining my relationships with the father that way. So he remained always throughout my life a father and in the next compartment. You know that? You understand what what I mean?
Yes, yes.
He took care of me like a father. In fact, I realized much later that earlier also, for years and years, he has been taking care of me. And now I really, in a way, sort of way, I think the words were put into my mouth. I said, he is with my father. And he has behaved with me throughout my life as a father who has taken all care of me.
So sweet.
And I had nothing to worry, but he will not share my compartment. You let me fight it. Let me live my own life, fight my own problems, and find out a solution for myself. That's what a father does. The father is compassionate. He runs to you. He has not run for me. He's there behind. I always knew that he's behind me, looking after me, looking for me, and taking all care. But he's the next compartment. I enjoyed that journey. And when I reached at the Dharma, I climbed down the train at Dharmavaram. I didn't know where to go. It was a pure Telugu kingdom, and I never knew a word of Telugu, not Hindi, only English and my mother tongue Odia. Now this is I was lost. So somehow I got a share tanga and came to the bus stand.
Bus
They said
stand.
you go to bus stand. Go to bus stand. Bus stand is not close to the railway station those days.
Hmm.
There, I was looking for a bus. They said there is only one bus a whole day that goes from Dharmavaram to Puttaparthi and it has left. Now what to do? Where I will stay? A young man came along, my age, in 20s. He said he also didn't know anything except Telugu. Then he said in Telugu, sign language of course, that we can go to Bukkapatanam and from Bukkapatanam we can take some vehicle, something to Puttaparthi. And you climbed into a bus that deposited us at Bukkapatanam. It was night that time, and night time there was no possibility of any vehicle. We had to stay the night in a land of nowhere. That man, that boy, led me to a temple. We slept in the temple. Next morning, he said bullock cart. Somehow he signed me in a bullock cart. I said, okay, bring anything that takes me. And we had a bullock cart that through this Chitravati sand, we came in the boarding and arrived at the gate of Prashanthi. Though there are no gate, of course, in Prashanthi. So
Beautiful.
that is an interesting journey. He
So
brought
just can you quickly sketch us also the Prashanthi, how it was at that time, 67? There are a lot of trees, I believe, and
there were a lot
Puran
of
was
trees. No Purnachandra. There was a long shed.
shed.
And
Yeah.
he took me to the shed. The shed was as long as Purnachandra is wide now. The width of Purnachandra now is the length of that shed.
Okay.
And in the shed, pilgrims used to stay. Those who want to stay under the roof. Otherwise, people prefer to stay under a tree.
Tree.
Later, when I came, I always stayed under a tree, very close to Mandir. There is a neem tree, a big neem tree. And I spread my mat there and slept. During day, I sat up, no luggage, only small mat, and pull them up and roll them up, put in the bag and sit on the tree. And Swami used to come on the B floor often in those days. I enjoyed that. But then when we came there at the time, 67 February, he took me to the shed. Then we stayed in the shed. Then he took me to darshan line. I sat in darshan. Swami came. Now, when Swami came along, I was not strangely surprised. Not that I expected Swami to speak to me at that time, but he looked familiar. Somehow I thought, okay, this is God. I was not telling myself this is God because I was not sure what God means. As I told you in the beginning. So I come to this person, and this person will take care of me. Then 2 days we stayed, and someday, third day in the morning, that boy vanished. So I knew that boy is Swami himself. Swami himself came to that boy form. Not that time, much later. When I came back home and then all that reflected back, that boy must be Swami himself. He brought me there. Then I had no money in a pocket. So I had not eaten anything. 3 days
Your
now.
10 rupees must be over by then.
I didn't use it.
Oh, you
Once in last station from Dharmavaram, I bought a ticket because I was scared that the ticket collector at the gate might ask for a ticket. So after traveling all this, should not get stuck there. That much I spent. After darshan in the morning, the gentleman was sitting a little away from me, from Lucknow, Hindi-speaking gentleman. He had come all the way from Lucknow in his ambassador car with his wife and his servant. He was staying outside. He called me for his lunch, for a lunch. He spoke with me, and I said that no, my purse was lost and things like that. When you go for God, a little bit of a lie you can manage. I think that's not very a great sin. But 2 days, in 1 or 2 days later, I found what is this? I should come to him, and I should not depend on somebody else. I didn't go for lunch to him. He looked for me everywhere. He didn't get me, and then third, those days we used to sit for darshan and the veranda itself, mandir veranda, public. And Swami, as soon as he opens the door, he find people lining up on the veranda, 2 rows. He was walk in between and choose for it. He came with the morning. I was sitting there, right there, where your Chaldas used to sit.
On the
Remember that
upper
place?
portico. On the
Upper.
upper portico.
Right, right. There's only upper portico. There is a portico where cars used to come and Swami
Yeah.
car used to come, all that. There he looked at me and said something in Telugu. I didn't understand. I nodded my head. Then after he left, he called some people for interview and I went inside. Then I said, what did he say? I nodded my head. This is not nice. Then there used to be two tall gentlemen, young men, stand near the one head this side a pillar, the other this side mandir door before Swami comes. And Swami goes
Yes.
for
Swami,
interview,
they used to do the door duty, it seems. Yes.
door duty.
Hmm.
And when Swami goes in for interview, they used to stand there. I went to one person and said, look, in English, I English said in English, I didn't understand what Swami said. Can you ask him and tell me what to do? So he went inside after the interview and came back and told me that Swami said he will call you while bhajan was going on at 11 o'clock. 11 o'clock bhajan was there those days. I was eaten. I was waiting for God to call me. So bhajan started. 1 or 2 bhajans have gone. The door opened and a few people were called in. I was also called in. Well, Abhimanyu, I can hardly describe that moment. Few minutes. It was an eternity. Eternity in bliss. But all that he said, one thing I was sure when he came out, analyzed it, and two things I was sure about, that he knows even my inmost thoughts. Inmost thoughts. Secondly, in spite of all that, might be wrong thoughts, insufficient thoughts, in spite of all that, he will take care of me, he will love me. He is a loving father. When I came out of the interview room, I came out with these two ideas of God, that he knows your innermost thoughts, and he is a loving father.
I believe he gave you a Sheshasai idol.
I'll come into that.
Hmm.
It's not an idol. It is a enamel stone that you can put on the ring of Sesasai.
Oh, okay.
That same size, that as you put on oval size, you can put on the ring. He waved his hand and created that and gave it to me and said, you do abhishek to it and take the water. I said, how many days, Swami? I said, I didn't say Swami because those days this word was not yet come to me. How many days? He said, 15 days you do it. So what that was, in the course of time, I came back and in a year or two, it's lost. I thought Swami, by the time I read some books and I knew that Swami must have taken back, it has served its purpose and all that and all that. But I was sorry for that. But that was the acknowledgement of God, that I belong to Him. And that was a great thing. That was, you belong to Him. And you come back.
Beautiful. Hmm.
Then he said, now go back home. I said, Swami, how will you go back home? I don't have anything. I'll give you. He said, I didn't say, what will you give me? I came back. After lunch, around 2 o'clock, sitting there outside, the one of the door door guards came to me and handed over 33 rupees. Imagine. Not
Very
30, not
typical.
35. Three soiled tenors, 10 rupee notes, and three 1 rupee notes. I calculated 33 rupees not enough for journey back home. Ticket will cost little more. I said, what is this? Why did he give me 35? The ticket those days cost 37 or 38, something like that. 5 rupees more. So I thought, wow, wow, the Swami doesn't want to me to really go back now. Then somebody said that after a few days, 2 weeks, there is the Sivaratri.
Shivratri, okay.
And Sivaratri is a great festival. You stay until Sivaratri. In the meantime, my parents were frantically searching for me, and I wrote a letter and put on the table in a book that don't look for me. I'm going out in search of truth.
You wrote that?
I wrote it. And then, of course, truth means Sathya, and I came to Sathya only. And they found out that this fellow has escaped to a remote place in Andhra Pradesh in a train without money, anything. And they found the address of Kasturi
So
from that
sweet.
book. So they wrote a letter to Kasturi. My father wrote a letter that my son has escaped and is there probably. And Kasturi came and asked me, you came away without, this. He's a very kind gentleman. He's a lovely gentleman, this Kasturi. And he said, his father wrote to me. I said, yes, I came away because I knew that my father won't allow me alone and I could not ask for anybody else to accompany me. So that is what I have to do. Now, when are you going back? He asked me. I said, I don't know. I'm here and Swami has given me some money to stay, and then my father sent some money. So you see, two things happened. One, in the journey, I defined my relationship with God, that He is my father. Second thing, Swami gave the money which is not sufficient to come back. So that money I used for staying there. And a father sent me some money. That money I used to come to father. See, this Swami is so calculating, so beautiful. He manages things. You see. And when I came back after the Sivaratri over, in Sivaratri there are Lingodbhavam. I didn't know about Lingodbhavam. Something that struck me, Swami that year, 67, took out two lingams. And every time he took out one, there was a flash of light from his mouth. Came out a flash of light. So that confirmed to me his divinity. The lingam from mouth, the flash of light. There can be no other explanation. Only one explanation, that he is completely divine. I rest assured that I am in the right hands. But when he said, go back home, I had another realization. That this God doesn't want me to quit this world. Not like giving up the world and go to some ashram and meditate. That kind of thing, this God is not, you're not favor of that. So I thought then my idea of searching God, looking for God in sort of forests and caves, that is the traditional knowledge I got from the books, now completely changed. I have to go back home and do my work. So I came back home, and my parents didn't ask any questions. Where did you go? How did you go? Didn't ask any questions. And when I wanted to tell the story, great story of I found God. I found God who takes care of me, who knows everything in my mind. There was not much interest. So I kept quiet. The whole story was in me. I enjoyed it myself.
So
I
your
didn't share
parents,
it.
so your parents did not have like enthusiasm
No,
about your whole
not much,
adventure.
not. Neither my parents nor members of family. They were not very much interested. So I kept the
So
story
then,
to myself.
hmm, then you kept coming back. It seems to Parthi every year.
I, 13 years I worked. No, 67 I came there. My first interview got, and from 67 to 80, 13 years I worked there in the different colleges as a lecturer. And 13 years, every year I used to come at least twice, Dasara and Sivaratri. Sivaratri, my first initiation, and I never miss Sivaratri. Dasara I used to get from college about 3 weeks holiday. That is golden time. So 3 weeks holiday I have to spend here. So these two times I used to come. And of course,
You
only,
you attended summer course also. I have a picture of
yeah,
that.
was 73 summer course. I was working there in, yes, this is, I was working in a BJP college in Bhubaneswaram college. From that college, I came with the summer course, and we stayed there 1 month. And
How was the
during that summer,
experience of summer course for you?
that was great. Those days, you know, but Dr. Gokak was in Bangalore University Vice Chancellor. He used to come there and he conducted the summer course. And he is a great man. He used to bring all great speakers. Some The person who spoke about Upanishad was a great speaker. I mean, all of them are great. Were great. And there are no room there. There are thatched house behind Swami's bungalow. During rains, it used to leak and used to be drenched. Like here, in our schools and colleges, when rains come, we have a rainy day, holiday. So when rains come and the roof starts leaking, we get wet. We go to some of us go to the go to Gokak and said, "Sir, rains." He didn't allow any holiday. So as soon as the rain stops and leak stops, we call sit. And those days, Swami used to come and sit in the class and listen to the teachers, listen to the speakers, interact with the children. Swami was so free. Then we used to go to a dining hall to eat, and Swami used to every day used to come both times. Those are great. That is a great thing. And so the
Summer,
summer course have been free.
summer course has all like touched many people's lives.
Yes, it did. Not only because of the talks were a great illuminating, but because of the close association Swami. There are a lot of stories about how Swami picked up people from Punjab, rowdiest people from UP, from Delhi, and he used to talk to them like friends. And they used to talk back like friends to Swami. And Swami changed them. How did Swami change them? There was one boy, a Tamil boy, who came from Calcutta.
Hmm.
But the beautiful voice to sing beautiful bhajans. And Swami always, early morning after Nagasa Kirtan, will go to Swami's bungalow, and there Swami will come up and give darshan. And there he stand and ask that boy to sing that song, a particular song he liked. I forgot that song now. And he will sing that. That boy is a terrible fellow. Only before Swami he used to be quiet. Otherwise he is Calcutta and Tamil. So he's but that boy was changed. At the end, he said he didn't want to go. But then that is how it happened those days. We came back to Odisha and new life started.
A new life started. Actually, the best thing I found to penetrate into your life is your poems too. And I wanted to bring to your notice a poem in which you have mentioned about a kind of journey. When you come along my road, that was a long time ago. I believed something was going to happen. The road would be wrapped up, and so my journey. But you told me, come along, we shall meet at home. I knew a long day stretched ahead. Towards dusk, I threw my knapsack on dust and said to my sore heels, here we can take break, for someone would come to take us home. But The day appeared to say bye. There wasn't any call from home. I picked up my knapsack, kicked some dust to persuade my throbbing heels. Let's be up. And now dust in my glasses, dust in my pockets, in the shoes. I'm still on my journey into the swallowing dusk to some place called home. I find this very
Uh,
interesting poem, which you talk about an endless journey to some place called home.
yes, but this journey was a little different from the kind of journey I have been talking till now. This I wrote much later while I had settled down in Prashanthi Nilayam as a teacher. You see, when I came after 13 years to Swami, I thought that arriving at Prashanthi Nilayam, staying with God, the journey's end. What more do I want? I have achieved my goal of my life. But gradually I realized seeing God like that, sitting by the lotus feet, is not enough. I have to realize Him inside me, love Him inside me. I must really find my acceptance within me. It's not that God who is standing outside that matters only, but the God that inside also matters. And when I thought that is road's end, I arrived there. Well, you know, such a thing when you are still unripe and still don't know what God is, still you are not ready for the experiences that He is going to give you, the exhilarations, that ecstasy that He is going to give you, and you think that whatever you see around with your eyes is enough, you are still in darkness. And I was still in the darkness. And then I felt a kind of loss. I was lost. After say 5, 6, 7 years, I thought, what is this? Nothing is happening to me. Where is my home? The sweet home. That I lost, that I missed, did we? So the journey am talking of, no doubt a long journey through lives. At that time I realized that I've journeyed for lives to come to Him. I've come to Him, but He must also come to me. Sometimes, you must have experienced, you sit by His lotus feet, you rub your nose with His robe, but still you know that He's far away. He won't take his letter, he won't look at you, he won't talk with you, he won't acknowledge you, as if you don't exist for him. No, how do you feel at the time? People have felt that and go back and cry over it. What is this, Swami? What is this happening to me? You are here, I am rubbing my nose with a robe, and still you don't know me. You can't take a letter from me. That kind of thing happened. And I felt a little lost. I felt what more is necessary? Something is missing in me. That I'm not feeling inside me that nearness with God. It's not nearness that matters, Swami says. It is all nearness that matters. What is that nearness? Near, not physically. I'm physically very near. Physically, I can touch His feet. If comes along, I can touch His feet. But still, He must touch me. He must transform me. Where is that? That kind of feeling is expressed in that poem. A kind of disappointment in the presence of God. God, you must do that. You see, that sort of feeling also.
But when you are in, like, physically distant from Him, I think, as a devotee, I'm sure that's what you have done in Odisha. You get engaged in His activities, what we like to term as Swami's work. So we get engaged, and that's how we start filling that gap, so to say, and feeling the closeness with Him through the activities. So I guess you got involved in too many activities in Odisha when you went back.
I
How did you
was.
manage that?
See, uh, I had started the Sanatana Sarthi, Odia version. And those days, there was no English, it was in a translation of English Sanatana Sarthi. For
Okay.
3 or 4 years, I had to write all articles from Swami's speeches, everything. So that took some time. I enjoyed that. Then when Bal Vikas came a few years later, It was creative storage. I read a lot of story by that time. So I have collected the stories and create some story. And that time, my kept me busy. Besides, when it was beginning, there are a lot of summer courses in Odisha, one or two summer courses there, training programs, then Samiti inaugurations. I used to go and talk about Swami. So I was very,
But
very, really very busy.
but translating Swami's discourses would really give you an insight into him itself,
Yes,
because
yes, of course.
understanding Swami is itself is challenge, and then to translate him, it's a huge learning curve. So
You
that must
see,
have really made it exciting for you.
I graduated with an honors degree in my language, in my mother tongue, Odia. And obviously, all in such cases, people when go to postgraduate, they take the honor subject. I took English. Later, I thought this is all his design. He pushed me into English postgraduate so that much later I can be useful here. Otherwise, I could not be useful here. You see that? So I had some control over Odia, my language, and because I have been teaching English, I had some control over English. And because I had read a lot of books, spiritual books, I was familiar with the terms Swami used, Sanskrit terms. So then it was not very difficult for me to do that.
I believe you were also reading a lot about from Ramakrishna Mission.
Yes, before I came to him,
Yeah,
I read about before I searching for the concept of spirituality. You see,
I think Ramakrishna has been really wonderful instrument of Bhagawan. Many have come through that.
yeah,
So
even
when did
Kasturi
you?
came.
Yeah,
Even
Kasturi also. Kasturi also came from there. Yes, yes. He
uh,
was a staunch devotee of Ramakrishna ji.
yes, yes.
So how did you then decide on moving to Palti? When did that happen, and how did that happen?
Ah, that is an interesting story.
Because you were established
So
lecturer in Odisha by
yes,
then.
yes. Then I see I got married and had two kids, and the kids have to be sent to the school. And when I was in Ravinsa College, the last lap of my work in Odisha, 3 years, 7 years I had in work there. We lived in a quarters in the within campus. I had to go send them to school. I sent my elder daughter to a school. Within a month, I had to withdraw her. I was very, very disappointed with the education there. By the time you can guess, I had read a lot of books on Swami and known something about Swami's education system, education ideals. I was very much disappointed. I withdrew her and engaged a private tutor.
Oh,
Then after some
so
time, I sent my again next year. I sent her again. I said this private tutor is okay, but she needs the experience of learning from school. She has to learn how to move along with his friends, make friends, and all that. School gives a different thing. Next time, I could not keep her more than 2 weeks. Brought her down, brought her back. My wife was angry with me. What is this? You are not sending her to school. How long she will stay on? I said, look here, the education is no education there. You know, in one summer hot day, the teacher sent my daughter home to get something from home. I said, what is this nonsense? The little child is sitting in the class one. He will cross the busy road and then come home to get something. Is that how a teacher should do? Then after some time, probably 79 or so, 80, I came here. And 81, the school was opened here, primary school. And sometime in late 79, my wife got a dream. Swami came in the dream, was holding in the hands of my both daughters and told her, I am taking them to school, my school. I am
in
taking them my school.
79, in
79.
79. Hmm.
So I thought, bah, that's a wonderful thing. But I didn't know how he is going to take them to the school. Where is the school? There is no school in Prashanthi Nilayam those days. Then I was sure that something is going to happen. Then, of course, I heard in 80 from what my friends working. Mr. Ramun Rao is my colleague. He is from Odisha also. he told me that there is this Swami opening a junior college here. I said, okay, fine. I jumped at it. I said, I can apply. Yes, you can apply. I applied junior college, and I was called for interview. An interview, Swami was not there. Kutumara was there, Bhagawantam was there, and somebody who is a correspondent, one Mr. Nakra from Delhi. You know him? No. I think he was
Yes,
there.
yes,
Mr.
yes,
Nakra, he was there.
yes, yes,
He worked as correspondent for some time,
yes.
and it was held in the B floor of school, Telugu medium. Then I came back and sitting on the sands that evening. Swami came along, and I was sitting in the third row. He looked straight at me to third row and told me in English, "You are selected." That
So you
was
had an
that was.
interview. Yeah, you had an interview there, and he came and told you. So you
He
are
told
already
me,
okay.
"I
Hmm.
you are selected." I said, "Yes, Swami, I appeared before for an interview." He said, "Yes, you are selected." I was so dazed that even I didn't ask for a Padnamaskar. I didn't say thank you. I couldn't do anything. I simply looked at him and said, "What is this? It's bonus from heaven." And a student had accompanied me. He jumped in joy that, "Sir, you were selected here," and all that. But after everything over, I suddenly realized it's a great opportunity. I could have asked for a Padnamaskar. I didn't do that. I could have said, ask something, when should I join and all that. Didn't. My coming and joining here also is a story. See, he has directed everything. Those days there is a system of a leon. So a government servant want to join another institute, then he has to apply for it. Then the institute who is taking him should the leave he is taking, during the leave he is entitled to the salary. But when he retires, these 2 years will be counted as a continuing service. So the accepting the new organization should reimburse it. I didn't know all that. I simply applied for 2 years leave. I said that I was selected in to join the Sathya Sai, what is that? What school was there? Junior college. I was
It's
not
a junior
supposed to.
college. Yeah. Hmm.
That was much station much below my status. 13 years after then I was going to promoted to class 1 officer. So I was going to join a junior college. They would not allow. But somehow it was very strange. Within a week, no one asked any question. The deputy director of the higher education himself streamlined my leaving. See, I cannot think of it. It's only Swami intervened very powerfully. It would not happen. And 1 year later, there was a letter from government. Your leave, sanction of leave was irregular. You tell us whether you are coming back or staying there. If you are staying there, you have to resign. I told them back, 2 years I got leave. I will tell you 2 years later. So, and then later, 2 years later, I asked Swami, should I resign? Swami said yes. So that was my end of my connection with the government work there. Then I stayed on. So you see the whole thing from my joining in English postgraduate to coming down here, 13 years working there for experience and getting the school ready. The school must be ready for my kids. And if I come here without that, how will they study? Where they will study? So everything was predetermined. Like a father, he looked after all things and he has his own time, he has his own time. And fixed his time when I should come. And then I came. And then I was given a room in a W3A12. If you are those who listeners who are familiar with the
Prashanthi.
Prashanthi Nilayam, they will
Hmm.
understand this room. But every Dasara to birthday, the owner should come. and those who were on rent have to go. So I was to leave. Where should I go now? So I can stay under a tree with the family with two small kids. I can't stay. So, but then it arranged that Kutumara said you can go to the old Prashanthi and stay there. Swami told him, send him to old Prashanthi. So
Old Prashanthi is the Path Mandir, the old Mandir.
yeah, yes,
Path
Pathamandir.
Mandir, we call it. Yes.
Yes. There is a room where Swami stayed, and there was a well there, and there's a
Yeah.
courtyard, and then there was a room where there was a lot of the bhajan was going on those days, and the room there. We stayed there from Dasara to Sivaratri to birthday. Sorry, 2 months, 3 months. Then of course, at the end of it, 2 years or 3 years, I told Swami, please fix me somewhere. It is difficult. All the way there and walking 4 times to school, from Path Mandir to school, morning, then come back for lunch and go back again there, and afternoon go back and then come for darshan. See, it's strenuous for me. And then he said he fixed me, put me in a house, and look at his kindness, his love, his care. It was a 2 room apartment, and in 2 3 years, when the owner comes to share the apartment, he asked to block that room and gave me 1 room completely. So now I'm staying in that same room. The double room was broken up into 2 apartments, and 1 apartment was given to me. What more? How can you be grateful to him? You see, he looked after what I should do. He looked after how I come to him, where I stay, and he got a school for my children. There's no
Sir,
one to.
you have worked in a very prestigious colleges in Odisha and in couple of places actually, and then you came to Parthi. So I think it will be appropriate to ask you very objectively if you would like to share your perception with all the listeners about what major differences did you find in Bhagwan's institution compared to any other institution outside? The focus of education, the style of education. Obviously, when you joined, the infrastructure was almost basic, uh, but you have seen it grow. So, if you can give us a kind of an understanding from the education, because Swami keeps talking to us and saying to the world, this is a Gurukula system he's promoting. So, as a teacher, how would you describe and explain that journey and that perception of yours?
The infrastructure was new in the way of bricks and mortar. The houses are being built, but the infrastructure of education policy was not new. It was established. I read about it, and that has not changed since then. Since the beginning, when Swami enunciated his education policy, it has not changed. We are struggling till now to accommodate it in our lives. So that I was interested in. And what was the interesting thing about that educational policy, educational philosophy? You see, education is educating a person, not giving the information. So it must educate a man, transform a man, change a man, change his perspective. And there is no such arrangement in the education I pursued. I taught from class when a university student to the PG student. But nowhere and nobody had a purpose of education. They had no purpose except job. They didn't know why they are studying. They didn't know what is the purpose of living. They didn't know what is learning. Now that stifled me. Really, that stifled me. I wanted to do something else. To take them into the dreams of life. The drive which is fulfillment, life of fulfillment, life of joy, life of knowing. Knowledge is an excursion into infinity. So that was not there.
Knowledge is an excursion into infinity. I love that statement.
And so that was not there. And nobody was interested in studying. And teachers also not interested. They come to class, deliver the talk, and go back. How many attend the class, how many do not attend is not their botheration. And many of them didn't, were not keen about finishing the syllabus. Of course, I also fall in the same trap, but I didn't like it. I didn't think this is the right way of educating them. I wanted to escape that thing. So when I came there, even though it was intellectually a smaller challenge, but it is spiritually a fulfilling status. I know there is a new journey for me, and the children I saw in front of me came from different places, and Swami had put into them the dream of life, the purpose of life. That obviously somewhere to go, and earlier those places they didn't know where to go. You get a BA degree, you got a MA degree, yes, okay. It's a luggage on your, it's a carrying a knapsack on your back. What more is it? Your degree there, what more in it?
So
But
how
here
do
I
you
found,
think in our institutions this focus is being given?
okay, this focus is mostly given by Swami. Swami is the great teacher, and
Okay.
we are also we're students. I was also learning, but we have some basic features must teachers must have. They must be interested in their work. They must work hard. They must be sincere. They must really communicate with the children. So those who these things that anybody had, and he will be inspired by Swami. So this
So I
we are doing here using our the abilities we had in dealing with the subject with the ability we would like to acquire from Swami to enhance it, not teach the subject, but teach children.
so if I have to ask you for the benefit of the listeners also, please define or explain in a brief what do we understand by values education?
See, value education is simply means ability for data transfer.
For
What is a
data
data
transfer?
what is data transfer? Basically, every human being knows what is good. You know that truth is good. You know that everybody should love each other. And all these basic factors, the values. Nobody says it's they should untruth should win. You go into the world literature, all epics for thousands of years. Nowhere you find a character, a great writer celebrating the victory of evil. You see, even the great Harry Potter series, if you read them, it is always the victory of the good. It's a basic faith in human being embedded in him. But that is immense as a data. Ah, it happens. But we don't transfer that feeling, that knowledge into life. Education should enable the children, enable the man who receives education to transfer all that he knows into acts, into life, into living. So education enhances the ability to live what you believe. You must live what you believe. Otherwise, what you believe is only a data, is information, in the book. Nothing more than that. So don't you think education is a data transfer? Transferring the data which you know into life. It must be a living presence. Like God must be a living presence. God cannot be a theory. God cannot be a
Beautiful.
concept. God must
Beautiful.
be living
I
presence.
hope audience is enjoying this discussion. And if I open this forum, that in case anybody has comes up with a question for sir, you're welcome to mention it, and I would be happy to share it with him. Uh, okay, sir. To continue, let me ask you. I'm just getting a thought in my head. When you came to Perthi, did you feel like going back to Orissa for some excuse?
Going back means,
Like, did you like for holidays people go back home or something
oh,
like
that
that?
way, that way.
How
You
often did you
see,
go back to?
I did not go back for 9 years.
Okay.
I did even summer vacation. The kids would, after the school opened and my kids they joined the school, we stayed here. First of all, of course,
But Swami also
well,
used to leave in those times. That's why I'm asking you. Swami also used to
yes,
go
yes,
for trips.
yes, that's true. But to be honest with you, uh, go back, those days was difficult financially. And then I did not have any urge to go back home. And after 8 years, 9 years, when I thought, let me go home and see my parents, I asked Swami. You know what Swami did? Swami, that was a summer vacation. Swami was in Tri Brundavan, and I was staying there with the family. And Swami said, announced there, this boy has not gone home for 15 years after coming here. Swami is like that, you know.
Yeah, he made 9 into 15. Eh? Okay.
15. And then I asked, yes, he wants to go home. Then I asked about the usual questions, when should I go home and all that and all that. Then I went home. When I went home, my younger daughter was in the 8th class or 9th class, and the elder one and one class higher. And looking at the way they have been brought up, my father was a teacher, a confirmed teacher throughout his life. He was a master, a big devotee of discipline. And when he found how the children have grown up, how they were developed in everything, in studies, in behavior, in response to other people, he was greatly influenced. And his opinion about the place gradually changed. He completely changed. A complete change much later. After he had a prostate operation here in Puttaparthi. I told Swami, my father has come, he needs a prostate operation. He was back at the time, he was 70 plus. And Dr. Bhatt, urologist, didn't want to try his hand scalpel on an old man. I asked Swami, Swami, you must speak to Dr. Bhatt, then he will do that. Swami spoke to him, and after Swami spoke to him, I was sitting in the mandir behind the Bhajan boys. He came to the window. He put his nose through the window and told me there, I have told the doctor, he will do it.
So sweet.
Then he later told me that your father had cancer. I cancelled the cancer. So that was a turning point in my father's life. He realized that he has wasted his time there. He could have come earlier here, but he didn't live much longer after that. But was completely changed after that. So that is how changes people. He waits for their time and all that.
Absolutely. I have one
So
poem of yours in which you have. I like your format of writing in which you pose the question and you answer it, but you take the form of Bhagawan to answer it. And this poem actually conveys that waiting point. Let me read it if you don't mind.
mm,
When you were not here in a burning summer, I heard my heart, desolate and depressed, asked you, my love, where are you? You whispered ever so gently, you find me wherever you find love. You find me where the first drops of rain cools the thirsty earth. You find me in the nod of a bud cradled by the passing wind. You find me in the blessings of the hungry. When you place a plate of rice or bread before him, when a child chuckles after a mother's feed, and when you tell a lonely traveler with a smile, God is around. If you don't find me in your heart, dear, you find me nowhere. But for me, such love is so rare.
yes, for God such love is so rare.
Do you, when you write, when these poems come to you, because I feel like you are actually putting up Bhagwan's role also. You are responding on his behalf. How does
Yes.
that happen?
See, when I have a question in my mind, I ask him, and it's a sincere question. Then the answer comes to me. Not I cannot say that he whispers the question to me in words, but I feel the answer is there. And when I start putting them in words, sometimes the words flow on their own. They flow on. I can't say that he writes through me. It is too much for me to say that. But I knew that the words that he puts in my mouth, I had little to change later. I may play with the words here and there, but the basic answer, the concept of it, is given to me like that. I mean, the long poem you read, the whole poem was like that, written like that. And most of the short poems also like that.
Sir,
So,
let me put you on a test today. So I'm going to give you words, and I would like you to describe Bhagwan with those words, with your experience, with your understanding, whichever way you feel like. Because there's so much of learning from Swami, and I cannot put them in together. But just I wanted to throw the words and see how you perceive those Bhagwan in that word. Are you ready, sir?
yes, come on.
Okay. Humility.
Humility. Humility is a very insufficient word to describe God. Because you don't know what else to say, you say humility. And a wrong concept of humility. Humility means a man must feel lowly, small, smaller than others. But humility is not that. True humility is feeling one with the other person. My true humility comes when I feel one with Abhimanyu. There's no difference between us. And so I cannot feel big. I cannot feel small. I feel equal. And there is a kind of bond before us. And when God feels everybody equal to him, that way he is humble. Behavior wise, he is humble. I'll give you an excellent example of his apparent humility. I mean,
Yes.
apparent means the way we would like to see him humble.
Perceive. Yeah. Mm.
It is stuck in my mind. See, those days in the 80s, late 80s and early 90s, uh, boys and teachers could go to the mandir in the morning for birthday celebrations. So you used to take a plate in which were
Carry a
akhyata
tray
and
and
things
carry a
like that,
tray with that. Yeah.
carry a tray and sit there. And those days, Swami used to take these fried ground nuts.
Mm.
So some of us, because we stayed in Bandir, and boys, if they can manage a cup of fried uh, groundnuts. So one day I was sitting there in the morning with with akyata in a bowl and groundnut another bowl, and Swami came out and went for lady side with darshan. He came to the gent side and came quietly walking slowly up, climbed the into the veranda, the steps, came to the boys. Two boys were with him on the right side, and I was on the left side. So all three of us stood on our knees, holding our plates. Swami came to the boys first, one after the other, blessed them, kept them vibhuti, and then came to me. When he came to me, somebody asked from behind something. Swami was talking to him and blessing me, putting akyata on my head, and then he, the sweep of hand, unconsciously, he spilled the groundnuts. Imagine that. Spilled the groundnuts. And as soon as the groundnuts are poured onto the floor, he suddenly realized it, that he has done it. And after that, what he did was amazing, unthinkable. He bent down. Imagine that. He bent down, tried to pick up those groundnuts and pick them and put on my plate. He was so close to me with his flowing robe and his bent. I was standing on my knees. I really could not even bend down, could not sit down. I just stared, in disbelief. He and the boys also on my side couldn't help much. They put their plates down and wanted to help, but Swami had covered the whole area. He's picked up the groundnuts, some of them, and put on my plate. Well, well, well. That was something great. He didn't say anything. Then he stood up, smiled at me, and went inside. For several days, I remained dazed. This is God who has created the whole universe. He was created everything that you see and don't see. And he has the humility to bend down and pick up my groundnuts from the floor and put them on my plate. And this is something great. See?
Amazing. Amazing.
Yes.
Amazing. I know physically when he used to stand next to us, the aura is too strong.
Yeah.
And when you see him in these kind of act, it is overwhelming. It is really overwhelming.
It's I remained in that state for several days. Just when I think of him, I sat still. What is this? Only bending down and doing this.
Beautiful, beautiful.
So that was, if you say that humility, it is humility.
Oh, I don't know. It encompasses so many things also, but
So many things.
yes, but
And
certainly
then
it is.
he went to the hostel one day. We are not allowed to go because he's close to the meeting. The hostel teachers and boys.
Hmm.
He spoke there to boys. I have come to you to be near you, to be close to you. Why are you putting me a distance? Why are you putting me into distance by calling me God? I have come to you to be loved by you and love you, to live close to you. Look at that. Do you say it is humility? It is not. But it is.
Beautiful.
But still, the great God which runs the cosmos, he says, I have come to be loved and love. There is a passage I sent you know, where I described why avatarhood. I will read that. Shall I?
Yes, yes, please.
Uh, do you know
Which,
why that thing? Do you know why I have come to you?
okay,
Uh,
huh?
that you have that. I look for it. Mm.
Is it my son? Listen with care.
No, there somewhere where he
Okay,
says where I where he says I have
is it
people say
this one?
here this one. They say these wise men
Today,
who
I
love
will tell you the secret.
ah,
Do you know why I come back to you,
right.
age after age, even though you treat me as a guest or an alien? They say, those wise men who love to say something big, I come to salvage truth from untruth, which means the privilege of my presence is the price of your sins. This is a very heavy statement, which means the
Ah,
privilege of your presence is the price of your sins. They all lie. For in truth, I come hungry for your love, to belong to you, to suffer with you, to spill my blood for you, that you understand what it means to say, I love you, for I am only love.
so that is what he has come for. Not so
Here
much to
you have raised a very beautiful perspective. Actually, I didn't imagine that definition of humility would be oneness. But here, when you brought it up, the privilege of my presence is the price of your sin. It is a very strange dichotomy I have in my head. Unfortunately, as they say, yada yada ye dharmasya glanir bhavate bharata. That means the avatar has to descend only when dharma gets destroyed. So it is a negativity which brings out the positivity, the avatar. So it's so unfortunate that avatar descent is conceived to be an outcome of, as you said, is the price of our sins. But you say it's all lie. Just shed some light on it.
you see. Krishna said that Jadadhara Dharmasya in a battlefield. That was the time when there was a battle going on between Dharma and Adharma. And his work was to establish Dharma and destroy Adharma. And he was talking to a great warrior was running away from this dharma. So he had to say that I have to come, and I have to come to destroy the sins. And my coming is the result of adharma. And Swami also said that sadhus and saints prayed to me and I came. But here I conceive of him as coming as an avatar of love. Because when do we commit sins? When there is no love in our hearts for the God, we commit sins. Lovelessness is another form of sin. Sin is the result of lovelessness. If there is sin, there is no love. If there is no love, we commit several sins. So sin is a lovelessness. So when there is love there in our heart enough, where is sin? How do you commit sins? You cannot commit any sins. You find God everywhere. And therefore, I come hungry for your love. You have forgotten to love, and I have come to teach you how to love. And how do I teach? I teach you love by loving you. And that's what I am for. And because I have come to teach you love, I am love itself. So I have the capacity to teach you. So to say that sins only bring God down, I think it's not a right statement. It is lovelessness that results in sins that brings out.
I would
You see?
support that. Actually, I remember Bhagawan saying once that, somebody asked the same question to Baba, and Swami said, uh, if it was only to rectify adharma, for that, I didn't need to take this form. I could
Yes,
have done
yes.
that without the
Yeah.
form too. But what this form is primarily for is to give joy and love to my devotees. They
Yes.
would not experience this oneness, this closeness, this proximity unless and until I take the form.
Yeah, that
So
is
this
it.
is the prime job. So I love the variation which you have put in your when you're writing in poem, but to bring it out like that is it's like it shakes you off that yes. But how
No,
unfortunately we think that way, that okay,
yes,
it is
yes.
the dharma which brings God. No, it is the love of the devotees which brings God.
That's why some said in the mandir, in the puja, we have a line like that, papoham, papa karmaham, etc., that I have committed papam. And Swami said, no, no, no papam. You can't commit any papam. Say praftoham, praftakarmaham. I have received, I've got God. Praftoham. After, see, when Kasturi, you see, was already life, were eager for getting a mantra. Swami played with him. And when finally Kasturi, the tears in his eyes stood before him, he said, what a foolish thing we are talking. You have God in front of you. What is the mantra for? Mantra is to take you to God, and God is in front of you. Why do you ask a mantra? There is another interesting incident. In the mandir, I was sitting there for darshan. One probably innocent boy sat there. He always comes very quiet and simple and meditates. One day he was sitting in meditation, closed his eyes. Swami came along, and Swami comes. You would never know. There was no music those days. And then Swami came along, finished darshan, and went by. He was sitting behind me, by side of me. Swami walked down, and the boy was still meditating, closed his eyes, meditating. She looked at him and said softly, hey, what are you meditating for? I am standing here. What are you meditating for? I am standing here in front of you. Then suddenly the boy got a jerk and looked up, and Swami is going back. So you see, the physical presence itself is so holy and so pure that I look at it is enough. Changes your life. And he never pushes himself into you. He never forces you anything. He said, look, he said that to Arjuna. He said, look here, I told you what you should do, I was to do. But I cannot fight for you. You do what you like. He said, Jati Sasi Tatha Kuru. Whatever you want, you do. So I also said, look here, the avatar only gives show you the path. and gives you freedom. I am freedom. Love is freedom. You are created out of freedom. So how can I take your freedom away from you? Love is itself freedom. Love means freedom.
So how can
And
I take
when
away freedom from you? Beautiful.
I can't take away. So I give you the freedom to choose this way or that way. But he added, you cannot run away from me. You cannot escape me. I am always after you. There is a beautiful story Swami said. There was a rabbit. It was a very funny story, but very revealing. The rabbit thought that he is eating grass and nuts from the earth, Mother Earth. So he is indebted to her. So how is he going to pay back the indebtedness? He cannot. So I thought I'll run away from earth. He started running away. Ran away, away, away from the where he was staying, from his whole house. After he got, after a long time, he sat down. Ah, I have run away from earth. When he said that I have run away from that, I escaped this indebtedness. Earth, voice of earth comes from below his feet. Where are you going back, going away, my child? I am always with you. You cannot run away from me. So how can you run away from God? Some said you cannot run away from
Excellent.
God.
Excellent, sir. I wanted to throw another word at you, but
Please.
I'm tempted to bring another poem alongside, but let me give the word mercy,
Mercy. Okay.
mercy, compassion.
So what do you want me to say? Explain this word. I mean, what I think about God.
Yes.
Mercy.
How does
See,
Swami bring out that element in him?
mercy is a part of his life, part of his personality. What is mercy? Mercy is feeling one with the other person. Oh, you are suffering. Empathy. Feel suffering. When you feel suffering, I feel suffering with a woman. No. A part of me will go to you. And a part of me going to you is mercy. When a part of me going to you, it don't do much. But a part of God comes to you, it can do wonders, great wonders. So only God can be merciful. You and I cannot be merciful to each other. You and I can love each other and struggle with that, understand it. But God alone can send himself, a part of himself, to you. And
Beautiful.
that's a God is merciful, full of mercy,
Let
full of
me
love.
let me bring in your poem here, and I think it'll be an interesting topic to talk on that. Let me allow me to read it again.
Please.
Dearest, you are running fever. Someone in the darshan line suggested, Lord, take some rest. Call off the afternoon round. An ocean of love in your eyes replied, Bangaru, how can I think of this body I have taken for you, your good? From the tip of my toe to my hair top, you will not find a selfish thought. How can I rest until you find rest in me?
See, I remember a little incident. There are the old Purnachandra. Purnachandra not there, the shed was there. And those days, also the performance going on the stage. There is a group performing on the stage. And Swami was sitting down among the audience. And those days, the college schools are not opened. I also came as a visitor. It was maybe some Dasara function or something in the evening. And there are no fans for him. Swami denied, said, no, don't put fans because fans will obstruct people from having the darshan. He was sitting on a chair and people around you want to see him. If there is a standing fan there, some portion of people cannot see him. So kind he is. He said, no, remove the fan. And then of course, he was hot and he was sweating, but he cannot fan himself. There was a gentleman who was sitting down near Swami, maybe some old devotee from Hyderabad or so. He pulled out a plastic fan and started fanning him from behind. He looked at behind and smiled. He continued to fanning him. After some time, he looked back pulled the fan away from his hand and said, "Why do you want to serve me, Bagaru? I have come to serve you. You did not serve. I have come to serve you." You see, God saying, "I have come to serve you." And once he said to the boys in the discourse, "You will give me something, no? What you will give me? All that you have, I have given you. And you say, you want to serve me. You are fighting for a big some service to me. What service can you do when I am doing all the service to you?" Expanded it. I have given you the sky. I have given you the wind. I have given you the water. I have given you the earth. I have given you the education. I am serving you. What way you can serve me? He simply said, he smiled and said, "You can serve me by loving me." That is great, isn't it?
Fantastic.
This Lord is great, man. This Lord is great.
So
It's
this
wonderful.
poem actually is a real story. You know, I because I know he had such incidences, and we have seen that. You know,
Ah,
he had many health issues, and he has never broken his routine. I have never seen him taking a break. I've never, you know, we all have. We can vouch for it that he has never taken a break, never missed a darshan, and
this is what this is what actually happened. I was sitting by the gentleman
yeah.
who asked. So I heard him saying that. And it was so great, so touching. He said, "Swami, why don't you take a rest, take a day off?" Then he said, "Can you give me 1 day's holiday? Can you give me 1 day's holiday? I can take a leave. You can take
I'm
leave from
tempted.
your."
I'm tempted to remember, you know, that correlation with Jesus people always have in this context, that you know, he was crucified for his devotees, whatever you want to call it. And here I find our Lord suffered for us every day. Physically, he was such a huge persona that you could not treat him the way people treated Jesus or Buddha for that matter. But we did it. His close devotees have done it. He had so many fractures, falls, and he has always kept smiling. And this whole, it brings that whole, you know, that memory back.
Yes, you remember the story of his. Uh, I'll get that charger. Ah, I remember what I say.
Now we're
What is the?
talking about this. I was remembering Jesus' correlation in this
Yes,
poem.
yes, yes.
Hmm.
He had that uh, cerebral thrombosis. 7 days he suffered, almost in the point of death. And when he came back, he cured himself in a trice, and then and declared his descent about the Markandeya Rishi and his Shiva avatar, all that story. You know
Yes,
that.
yes, yes. Yeah.
And he suffered. Then he, then he said, the people asked him, "For whom did you, whose disease you took over?" He said, "I'll not tell you. You will kill him." I won't tell you. But yes, several things has happened like that. Not only this, several times he has suffered for us. Jesus said that I know if I ask my Father to rescue me, he will send a legion of angels to save me. But I will not do that because it is mentioned in the scriptures that I must suffer so that people understand what is suffering.
I'm sorry. I think his video has internet connection. So let me share in the meantime, as he's coming, let me share one more poem of Sir. which is which gives you an insight into how he, how he thinks and what he does. My son, listen with care. I will tell you a secret of love. My love for you is your protection, inasmuch as yours is mine. My love is your protection, Lord? For me, an unacceptable proposition. I noticed a gentle smile when he said, your hate, anger, selfishness, lust hurts me too. For aren't we made for of the same truth, the same light? When you deny the truth, you deny me, and deny yourself too. The vapors of poison you thus produce destroy wholesome life, and who but me can halt the cataclysm that stares you in the faces? But the price has to be paid, and I have to ransom you age after age. I swallow the poison, though it churns my flesh. For isn't that the dharma of love? I'm here to teach you the simplest truth. Love is
Can you hear
sacrifice.
me?
Yes, sir. I was just reading your poem in the meantime, just to give them a flavor. I'm here to teach you the simplest truth. Love is sacrifice, which alone opens the door to your own immortal reality. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, we can hear you. Please carry on. I was just sharing one more poem of yours with the people, so you can continue. You're talking to me about. Can
Hello,
you
can
hear
you
me
hear
now?
me?
Yes, 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 we
Nice,
can hear
awesome.
you.
Picture awesome.
Yes, we can hear you.
Awesome, awesome.
Sir, we can hear you. We can hear you. Please carry on. Oh, I think he's not hearing me.
Hello.
I can hear you. Sir, we can
Can you
hear
hear?
you. Yeah,
Can
yeah,
you
we
hear
can
me?
hear you. Yes, we can hear you clearly. You can't hear me, I think, but I
I can
can
hear
hear
you.
you.
I can hear you, but I don't see your picture.
Oh, you don't see me now. Okay. But you can start speaking. I can hear you clearly.
Okay. It was sorry. It is the computer problem.
No, no problem, sir. No problem. You can. The live show
Oh,
is still on. You can continue.
okay, okay. You can ask and
With the you were sharing the correlation of Jesus.
yes. He said, I will ask. I can ask my father to send me a legion of angels, but he said no. I will not do that because it's written in the scriptures that through my suffering, the devotees will understand. So you see, suffering is a way to connect consciousness. When you suffer, we deny the instrument of suffering, this body, and begin to see beyond suffering. And suffering mellows us down. Suffering arises compassion in us. See, that's why Swami welcomed that. When Swami first fractured his hip, it was 2 3 days before Guru Purnima, and doctor said you should not get up from the bed for 3 months. Guru Purnima is tomorrow. And Swami said, Swami became restless. My devotees have come so many, and you are asking me to sleep, keep to the bed? How is it possible? They begged, they fell at his feet and said, Swami, you cannot get up now. But on the morning of Guru Purnima, 9 o'clock, Swami got up, sat in a wheelchair, came there, stood up, and spoke for an hour. And in the speech, he mentioned through that Devotees are asking me to transfer my pain to them. How can I do that? The intense pain I have in my body, nobody can bear it. And how can I be so selfish to pass on my pain to them? They come to me for succor, for love, to throw all their pains on me. And I will, how can I give my pains to them? What a kind God is. And he said, the kind of pain my body is suffering, you cannot imagine. But I have dissociated my mind from the body and I have no pain. See, look at the two aspects of God. The aspect of God who go through the pain so that we understand how God is compassionate. But he also transcends the pain. We understand he is not the body. Only he can put the two things together.
Sir, here I'm tempted to little ask you a personal question, if you don't mind, and you are free to answer it or change the topic.
Okay,
Uh,
ask.
you have been with Bhagwan and you have seen him closely, from controlling the nature to resurrecting people from dead. We have seen all of that, and it has not happened in private, it has happened in public. So everybody has witnessed them, and you have seen it very closely. And you had the privilege of accessibility to Bhagavan, if I may put it like that. Have you ever felt, or did you ever felt the need or desire to pray to Bhagavan to cure you?
As you said, it's a very personal question. But because you have asked it and the whole world is listening, I cannot run away from
No,
it.
I'm sorry,
I,
but you're free
no, no,
to.
that's not that.
We'll
That's
change
okay.
it. Okay.
That's okay. That's
Mhm.
okay. I came to Swami uh, not for worldly gains. I had a better job. I quit it and came. I lived with my parents. I came here with my family and lived alone. I was living comfortably in my house. I came here and had to shunt from here and there. So obviously, I was looking for something greater than the physical can give me. So I thought, well, Swami can give me something more, far more important than the physical body. Why should I concentrate on, why should I use His grace, ask for His grace to heal it? After all, this body is going back to dust. One day it will be turned into ashes. Like all, even God also has left his body. So if, if something is going to dust, something is going to turn ashes, why should I call his attention, call his power, call his grace to heal the dust and heal the ashes? So I didn't ask for it. But if he wants to do it, he can do it. That is, and that will help in the mission. But if he doesn't do it, I know that I need not ask for it. In fact, one great orthopedic surgeon had come to Prashanthi Nilayam. And Swami sent one person, Nityananda, those days Nityananda was there,
The warden. Yeah.
warden. He asked me to go and meet that doctor. I told him I don't want to meet him. If Swami wants to do anything, he can do it. If he doesn't want to do it, I don't want to seek somebody else's help. And throughout my life, I've seen this has not stood on my path. I managed it. So my mind was elsewhere to get what God has, as Sab said, I have come, what I have come really to give you. Nobody's asking. So why should I ask for this handful of dust for something? So I didn't ask it. No, I'm not trying to glorify myself. But since
No,
you
well,
asked,
it's fantastic.
good to
There is
ask.
no need to, you didn't feel that even the need for it. Okay, sir, I heard that once you had a privilege of traveling in his car with him. I'm just triggering your some memories,
Yeah,
a
yeah,
quick
yeah.
memory.
You are taking me to the my fondest memory. There are some program, there's some kind of exhibition in a hostel. Swami was invited to go there. And Swami, as you know, always last minute he said, I'm coming. So just before Darshan boys started coming, Swami sent message that he's coming. So boys did come and set the things ready. So when he heard that, some of the teachers who were sitting there and veranda, we got up and went to go to hostel. Swami, when I was going back, Swami had already started, the car has already come, and Swami is just walking to the car. And he found me walking back to the hostel. From the veranda, I was going back. So when he passed me, I was near the institute gate. He stopped the car. And Gokok was in front, Kosturi was on his right. So the two great luminaries were there in his car. And he asked me to get in. Gokok came out and I sat near the driver. I pushed myself in. See, look at his attention to the smallest needs. I always amazed. After I got in, Swami was wondering how I will put my crutches where. I was muttering to himself, oh, yeah, how he will manage and all that. Look at that. See, he looks at such small things and wonders like your own family, like father. See, when I settled down and arranged it, Swami heaved a sigh of relief. Take.
I know he gives you that physical acknowledgement that, okay, you have managed it well.
But I could look back. I always felt a kind of awe in his presence. The car was filled with such a presence, such a great presence. I don't have words to express it. A great presence, a overwhelming presence, which is love and which is awesome. See, I could not look back. He asked something. He knew that what I was feeling. I was feeling a little, and he said that, look, to make things easy, he said, look, a teacher is sitting by the side of a vice chancellor. Does it happen elsewhere? Does it happen elsewhere? Then he asked something about my previous college, and I said something. There is not much talking. I could look once or twice. I looked back and looked at Swami's face so closely, enveloping the whole thing. The presence envelops whole thing, envelops me, envelops everybody. I was really, and the great thing is when he finished his inauguration there, he came out. He looked, hey, where is the teacher? I brought him. Where is the teacher? Ask him, come. He remembered. He
So
brought
sweet.
me back. So he brought me back to the mandir. And picking somebody up from the road, imagine. That has never happened. I mean, I don't know. But that he did. It's great love for me. And that remained as a great moment. This is, we had a photo exhibition. Swami gave us some photos.
Let me take you
And the
some pictures. At least it'll be nice walk.
Yeah, this is a hostel.
Hostel,
So
is
I came
it?
to hostel and we are offering roses to him. This is I was asking him to come home, to go to Odisha. And look at the smile he has. You can't describe the smile. What a wonderful smile. This is yes, nose in and out. There was a 1 year when everybody, all elders used to go to Swami and give flowers.
Yeah, they had created that chain that everybody could at least go the
And
proximity of Bhagawan.
I had a letter in my pocket. I was giving the letter, Rose. I forgot to give the letter. Swami himself picked up the letter, pulled out the letter out of my pocket and opened it and read it. And closely look at his eyes, look at his face. He looked at the Rose. How compassionate, how loving, how knowing the smile is. And knowing, he says, yes, I know you. That's kind of thing.
So how would you remember your his last few years of Bhagwan physical sojourn?
Oh, that was a very painful thing. After he got into the wheelchair, I felt very bad. And he pretended to look bad, pretended to look sick. Whether he was sick, when I used to look, to see him sick, it is a very trying thing. Sometimes I cursed myself that I saw it. But Swami, the center of our life, even at that stage, we cannot. But then something interesting happened because you raised the topic. I remember an interesting incident. Sometimes I didn't want to come further. I couldn't tolerate him coming in a wheelchair and an indistinct voice, all that. It's very difficult to stand. He came one day and went inside. We took round inside. I got up in the veranda and came away. I said, no, I can't sit anymore. Swami will come back and all that. When I went straight, I took my scooter and went to a lonely place. I used to go there, outside Mandir. I drove down about a kilometer, a lone place. I went to there's a lonely place. It's a kind of a deserted place. There's a hill, there are trees around, and went there and parked my car there, scooter there, and sat and looked around. I was asking myself in my mind, why Swami? Why should you behave like that? Why should you put so much strain on your physical body? We can't stand it. Then something wonderful happened. Something beautiful happened. Suddenly I felt my uh, ability to perceive had changed its level. And as I saw Swami in the hills. I saw Swami, I mean, not physical Swami, outline of his face, but I felt he's there in the trees, in the sky, in the ground, in the stone, blocks of stone around. I felt I was surrounded by him, a smiling, a beautiful face, and telling me, I'm everywhere, I'm around you, I'm eternal. I found that not only he is internal, eternal, even the Prakriti is internal, earth is internal, eternal. You see, and there is a kind of silence, a kind of eternity at rest. Eternity at rest. I stayed there for quite till it was dark. Something, a great thing. He's everywhere, surrounds me. He's enveloping me. He is not in the body. He is in the body, but beyond the body. I had a similar experience long ago. Shall I tell you that? Is it
Sure.
okay?
Yeah. Quickly, huh?
I was just came to Swami and went back, and I wanted to spend some time alone. So I left my home. This time, of course, with permission, to a friend's house. I stayed in a friend's house for 2 3 days. So I used to climb up the terrace in evening to lie down there. One day I was lying down there. It was a dusk. No, dusk in Sanskrit of a beautiful poetic word. We say Godhuli. When the cattle return home, their hooves kick up dust. And the whole thing, the horizon is covered with the dust. It's a shady place, foggy place at that time. And cattle come back, the cowherd boys calling each other. It is really a poetic time. It was that time. I was lost in the poetry of nature. And then I was lying on my back, looked up. I found, I have seen the picture of Lord Jagannath at Puri,
Yeah.
round eyes.
Yes.
I am very fond of his eyes. I found the two eyes covering the whole space, whole sky. Two round eyes looking down at me, mellow with love and mellow with compassion. As if he's saying, yes, I know all. I know all the pain, suffering that people go through, but I am looking up to them. I love them. That was such a powerful experience of omnipresence of God. And not only omnipresence of God, I realized all forms are His forms only. He can speak to us in any form. It doesn't matter. It's only He who speaks. His compassion only comes to us. His compassion only transcends time and shapes us. So that was before and after. So that
Very
was
good.
something very good.
So time constraints. So let me quickly ask you one more. You started your journey with Bhagwan by calling him your father, and
Right,
he fulfilled his duty perfectly.
right.
But you, as a father, how did he compensate that part?
Me as a father,
Like your
compensate
role
what?
as a father, how did he help in that? How did you feel that as a role of father in Parthi, especially?
We see, you see, when I came here and put my children in the school, he became father of the children also. He became father of everybody. So why should I worry about that? And one day, very interestingly, because he asked that in one interview, after it was the second or third interview, before that we go, kids also go. They were, I think, in the school. Swami looked at them suddenly. We sat down. He sat in the chair in the first room, and we are sitting around his lotus feet, and the children were sitting there by the window, and looked there and said, "Who are they?" Imagine the question. Who are they? You call me and the family, and obviously they are my kids. So I said, Swami, they are your children. Well, that's all. He looked after them well. He looked after the soul well. He is now all. He relieved me of the pleasant or unpleasant task of pretending to be a father. He is now father.
Pretending to be father also not needed. Eh?
Okay?
I believe
Yes, father.
your elder daughter's marriage also
Yeah,
Bhagwan
yeah,
really
I'm going to
fulfilled.
that. He arranged everything. He got her married. And then when he asked me every detail of it, every details. In fact, earlier I had brought about a uh, relationship, but he that didn't happen. So this happened, and then he asked me where and how and where you are going to do. Go to the what is that?
Kalyan
Uh,
Mandapam,
Kalyan Mandap there,
Path
and the
Mandir,
Kalyan
yeah.
Mandap key was with his elder brother. You take the key from him, and who is the pujari? Every detail he asked, and then he gave me for her a Mangala Sutra. See, you know what is pusti? They call it pusti. They put it in a thread,
Yeah,
yellow thread, and tie it.
yes,
Swami
yes.
gave me that golden pusti in my hand. I didn't know that it should be used with a thread. Swami, I looked at the thread and said, and told Swami, Swami, chain. There is no chain for it. Swami said, look at this foolish fellow. He's asking for a chain. It is not used with a chain, it is used with a thread. Then
Nali, they
he
call it, I think different names are there, Nali.
uh, then he said, how many you want to invite? What a question to ask, and how can I tell Swami how many? I'm not yet settling the number. So I said, Swami, 200, 300, like that. No, 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 don't do so many. Not more than 100 people should invite. Look at that. He decides how many people I should invite. And then he was some fellow teachers were sitting there, my colleagues. He looked at them. Janardhan was sitting there. He said, hey, you don't go to his feast? You are eating enough in the hostel. Why you should attend his feast? Look at that. He can be killingly kind and kindly killing both. You see? And then you go and help him. He's asked, go and help him. My colleagues did all that. They decorated the stage, got trees, got lamps. I mean, he did everything. So he looked after everything. He did.
Sir, I'm really enjoying, grateful to Bhagwan for this beautiful opportunity. but I would like to not close off without sharing two more poems of yours, if you don't mind, and then give your thoughts, because I feel this will be a wonderful, bringing it together. For there is neither a curse nor judgment in my lips. And this is a version you have written from Bhagawan's perspective.
Yes.
In my lips, which know only to bless, I am a timeless weight. But sadly, you forget, delaying the trust I have come to fulfill is denying me. Therefore, to save you in spite of yourself, I have come with a basket full of toys that one day you would ask for what I alone can give myself, only a reflection of yourself which you have forgotten in the cellar. I
Yes.
would like to speak a little bit on sadly you forget, delaying the trust I have come to fulfill is denying me. Beautiful line.
Yes. You see, delaying the tryst I have come to fulfill is denying me. I'm here. I have to fulfill your tryst with you. You have come to me. I brought you to fulfill my tryst. Now, even at this great moment, this great opportunity, you are thinking of toys, asking me for toys. That puts me out. I'm sorry for that. I have come to basket full of toys because Swami said, no, why did I open the college and school institutes for you? I could have brought you like that. They are baits by which I catch you and bring you here. And then when you bring me here, I teach you the lessons of life. If I simply say I will teach you lessons of life, who will come to me? Nobody will come to me. See, so the toys, so the basket full of toys brought. But I alone can give myself, I've come to give myself to you. If you are only ready to receive. But who are you? You are only my
Beautifully
reflection.
written. And the last poem which I wanted to share from my side is this. Dearest, now I understand. Love begins with loving and ends with being. When your breath passes through the flute, there is no flute, no breath, only a broken myth. That I need to say I love you. In this new celebration of love, destroy my frontiers, my hesitating fears, all my creaking masks, and my love make me so poor. I can hardly buy a smile. When my cup is broken, you will be my cup. When my desires shrink, you will be my desires. And when life and death lose their identity, you will be my song, a new song for my love.
Yes, that is a beautiful idea of put my mind.
Please
I
say a
now
few words on this poem. It's a very beautiful poem, I say. Love begins by loving and ends with being.
yes. Love begins with being. Love begins with loving and ends with being. That's what happened to Mirabai, isn't it? Mira loved. And at the moment, sometimes he used to dance. Gunguru Bandha Mira Nachere used to do that. Then sometimes it's saying Mere to Giridhara Gopal. Then sometimes it's saying Sab kuch choda. I left everything to come to you. And why you are troubling me? And finally she said, you and I are one and merged in him. Love begins by removing the contours of your human personality and fills you with the divine personality. And that is being. Swami said is uh, what is it? Being and becoming. Becoming for being forgets itself in becoming. So becoming must end in being. See, what a beautiful way of describing the journey of life. You are being. Essentially, I and you are one. And once he said in a discourse, when I see you, I see myself in you. And therefore, when you see me, you see yourself in me. To see yourself in God, that is a fulfilling moment. And that can happen only with observing love. Love
Beautiful.
observes you. Love observes you. Nothing remains. Nothing is left behind. And that is what Swami has came to give us and is still giving us, that observing love. Like a blotting paper, he observes you.
I'm
Well,
only grateful to Bhagwan sir because this journey, we can talk so much, but I would like to keep the timing. And I'm grateful to Bhagwan for this opportunity. And I'd like to tell people that Sir has written many books and many poems. It gets published in Heart to Heart in Radio Sai. And this is one of his books which has got published as Grains of Sand. And, if anybody is interested to ask Sir any more questions, they can always send in notes. But thank you so much, Sir. I don't know how to thank you also for your time and for your love, for coming and sharing your moments with us. And it is such a joy. I really had beautiful time. If you want to say something in final for everybody, your
uh,
essence of your life, your message for everybody of us, that will be welcome, sir. Please.
I want to also thank the warrior of God and thank the listeners and ask them to take a spark of this love, scarf, a spark of this fire I've tried to build around it. And take this fire and take this spark and build a little fire in your hearts and offer all your work, thoughts, actions, and everything. And then when it goes burning more and more people have a fire in their hearts, it will be a conflagration. It will burn everything around us that is inauspicious, that stops us from going to God, that takes us to God. And when you are born and whole world is burnt with love and only love, what remains? God remains. And this is what the message of our life for us. Swami left this message for us. Love is the only reality. To be one with God is the only reality. God is the only reality for us. And God is not distant. God is not a concept. God is not an idea. God is not a punishing authority. God is a person who says, "You cannot walk behind me, you walk in front of me. Come, I come, hold my hand, come hand in hand, be my friend and walk with me." This is our God. Be my friend and walk with me. All his life he said that, be my friend and walk with me. And rest of our life, we must try to walk with him. He is with us, the fire is with us, love is with us, and we must walk it. Purify ourselves. Thank you, Aviram. Thank you, Abhimanyu. It's a great time remembering God. Every time you remember God is a great time. You can be in a
Certainly, sir.
go back.
It's our humble way of remembering him, and we are just grateful that he keeps giving us these beautiful opportunities and excuses.
Yes, yes.
Thank you so
We
much, sir.
thank you, Tyrab. Tyrab.
You
Tyrab,
brought back
everybody.
school days and everything, so it's lovely. Thank you so much, Sairam. Sairam to
Thank you.
everybody. The episode will be available on the same channel, and you are welcome to watch it and share it as you feel. Sairam.